whatever path you are on, whatever inspired you to come here today, we honor you and we welcome you. And now, our message.
Like I said, we have a special guest speaker today, and I'm going to invite Pam to come up and do the introductions. She is, as I and my wife are close friends with our speaker, especially Claire and Cliff, but Pam has worked with him many times, and she has some things to share, I'm sure.
Yeah, Cliff and Lori have been friends of mine. I'm so lucky to be able to say that for at least the past 20 years. And it's just so awesome to meet professional people who walk their talk, you know, who are working towards teaching enlightenment, and they do every single thing that they say. And, you know, these are people who are so special, and I'm so glad that you're going to have the opportunity over the next 2 weeks to get to know them. I know I've been sharing a lot for the past month with you about both of them, and today's the day. It's here. Yay. Cliff Edwards is the forgiveness expert. He has written books, and he lectures around the world, and he is just a fabulous, fabulous guy. He is a coach, a trainer, a consultant, an author, and an international speaker. He's a wonderful friend, just somebody that you can trust and really count on. He coaches successful people to really look at their lives and be able to release all the gunk, and it's a professional word, I think, and just find all the pain and disappointment and be able to release it and move on in their magnificence and become even more successful. He also co-founded the Ford Integrative, it's the Ford Institute for Integrative Coaching. Debbie Ford, who's an internationally known best-selling author, how many of you have heard of her or read her books? Yes, it was actually Cliff and Debbie together who co-founded the Institute, and they trained together over 1,000 coaches. So if you're interested in coaching, I mean, he is not only the forgiveness expert, but he's the coaching expert and a great guy. So it's with just great honor and privilege, and so happy to be your friend, I get to introduce Cliff Edwards, the forgiveness guy.
You know, Reverend Lyle, that quote that you read really summed up everything that I do and put it in a nutshell. That was a beautiful quote. And it's all about what it takes to forgive. I have to confess, I woke up this morning also thinking that maybe the PowerPoint presentation wasn't the one I wanted to give. And look what happened. It all works out perfectly. And I said to Pam, you know, I'm going to give him the F word talk.
Forgiveness.
The F word. I've got to warn you, I'm going to use the F word today, and I'm going to use it a lot. I hope you don't get offended, because a lot of people have misconceptions about the F word. They don't really understand the true power of the F word. They resist the F word. They don't want to use it. But my goal is to convince all of you that the F word is your friend. And that it's something that you should embrace and use not only in your own life, but with your friends, with your family, in almost any situation. Forgiveness. I said it. The F word, forgiveness. And when I came in and I saw the kids sitting here, I thought, oh, is this really going to work, using this F word thing? And then they all left for church. Well, most of them left for church. I think it probably would have gone okay anyway. Boy, it's warm up here all of a sudden. I wore this jacket mainly because I get cold. And it's nice and sunny outside, but not quite like San Diego where we live. So what I really want to enroll you in today, I want to enroll you in to shifting perspectives, to being willing to see and understand things in different ways. I want to enroll you in the power of shifting perspectives. Because really, all forgiveness is a shift in perspective. It's changing the way that you think about, look at, and understand some experience. In that quote that Lyle read, and I'm going to have to get that guy's book. I'm familiar with the name Lyle, but I'm going to have to get that book. He's really got the concepts there. Mentioned telling a new story. And forgiveness is about telling a different story to yourself. One of the things I specialize in is emotional education. When Pam introduced me, she said I'd worked with Debbie Ford for 14, 15 years before she passed, unfortunately. And we specialized in transformational work, emotional education especially. And emotional education is the process of training yourself to be more familiar with your emotions, with your thoughts, with your spiritual guidance, and being able to manage that and take control of it. Not control in a like, I'm going to control this from my ego kind of way, but in a control from, I'm just going to manage this. I'm going to choose. Well, I'll use that word also, choose. I'm going to choose my thoughts. I'm going to choose the way I think about things. I'm going to choose the way that I talk to other people. I'm going to choose my behaviors. How many of you find yourself sometimes just reacting to things? Something happens and you just react. Yeah, it's a very human thing, right? And the reason that happens is because you have a particular set of patterns of thought and belief in place. And particularly you have a set of negative judgments. I'm going to let you in on a secret. Forgiveness is as simple as shifting a negative judgment to a neutral or a positive. Turn around and look at that board in the back there. You see that bulletin board? So that bulletin board has a cork board, and there are little push pins that hold things in place. And underneath the push pins there are papers, there are flyers, or whatever else. So Pam and I were teaching a class a couple of years ago. Pam's brilliant, perfect weight made easy class. I was assisting her in teaching that. And we were in a room about this size in the community center, and I was talking about forgiveness. And I looked up, and in the corner of the room there was a bulletin board not unlike that. Maybe a little bigger and a little more cluttered. You've all seen those. The ones where each push pin has about a dozen things underneath it, and they all are kind of wave in the breeze when you walk past. So I looked at that, and all of a sudden it became clear what forgiveness is, or actually what non-forgiveness is. Non-forgiveness is like having a bunch of stuff stuck to you underneath a push pin. Okay, here's the analogy. The negative judgment is the push pin. It's, that's bad, that was wrong, that shouldn't have happened. I don't like that. Do any of you have any negative judgments? Maybe a few? Oh, I am a judgment king. Especially when I was younger, before I really understood this stuff. I had judgments about everything. I was really, really good at it. Of course, I never showed it. I just kept it inside and smiled, that spiritual smile. I'm a nice guy, really. You asshole. Or whatever else. So the negative judgment is the push pin. You are the corkboard. And all those flyers and pictures and clippings, the emotions, the beliefs, the stories, the negative thoughts that you carry around about those incidents from the past. It's all stuck to you. You're carrying it with you everywhere you go. You may wonder why you feel so heavy or tired sometimes. It's because you're likely carrying around a lot of stuff that you don't need to be carrying. And it's stuck to you with those negative judgments. So what happens when you go up to the bulletin board and you take that push pin and you pull it out? What happens? All the stuff falls away. It just drops away. And you don't have to carry it anymore. That's forgiveness. Forgiveness is removing the negative judgment, being able to think about and see and understand a circumstance in a different way, which is the key really to removing the negative judgment, and freeing yourself of everything that you've been burdened with to this point.
That's a good one.
Like that? That's a great analogy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've used this and people get it. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Pam, for that. Had we not been in that room that night, I never would have had that analogy. Let's see, where was I going to go? Let's see, this is anything can happen Sunday, so I do know where we're going to end up. I've got a fun little exercise for everybody. So we'll end up with that. Until then, we'll just bounce around a little bit. It's been 10 minutes? Okay. There's no clock on the wall, so I enrolled Pam and my wife in giving me time signals. Because I can easily, especially when there's nothing planned, just talk and talk. So the negative judgments. The way you remove the negative judgments again is by shifting the way that you see and understand them, having a shift in perspective, which is why I said that I'm here to enroll you in the power of having a shift in perspective. I don't know how many of you grew up in large families, or even with 2 or 3 kids, but I'll talk to my sister sometimes about events or circumstances that happened in my childhood. And I'll have one very, very definite memory of what it was like and an interpretation of it. Oh, no, I hated when we take those car trips and whatever else. And I'd ask my sisters about it, and they'd say, oh, no, that was completely different. It wasn't like that at all. And my other sister would say, no, you're both wrong. This is the way it was. So there were 3 exact events. The event was the same event, but 3 different interpretations of it completely. And the really cool thing is, guess who's the interpreter? Guess their stories. Guess who's the storyteller? You're the storyteller. So if you don't like the story that you're telling about something or someone, you have the ability to tell a different story. Exactly like that quote said. Instead of the victim story, I was done wrong, you can tell the hero story. Oh, I'm in charge of my life. That was an event that actually contributed to me. Because when you're able to pull yourself out of the victim story and see yourself and see other people in a different way, everything changes. Have you realized that perhaps in this physical plane there's no such thing as a ultimate truth? That everything, my friends, even back in my 20s, I used to think about this stuff. My friends would say, oh, everything's relative. Relative to what? Well, relativity, relative to me or you. But I would say, no, really, everything is subjective. It's your perspective. It's your viewpoint on it. This is a fun exercise. I wasn't planning to do this, but it just popped up. So, if you would, stand up, please. And look at me. I used to be really shy. Now I love it when people do. Okay? Now, if you would, turn 90 degrees to your left. And now look around the room. Okay? Turn another 90 degrees and look around the room. Just take in what you see. Turn 90 degrees, look around the room. Okay. Look up and look around. Look down and look around. Turn 90 degrees. Look back at me. What did you see? What else did you see?
Pattern on the carpet.
Okay. Pattern on the carpet. How many different views of the room did you have?
6.
Lots of different views,
Oh,
okay?
lots, okay.
And how many different things did you see? Lots of different things. And when you were looking at the ceiling, were you aware of the floor?
No.
You couldn't see the floor. Okay, go ahead and have a seat. So that's a real simple demonstration that you're in the same room. The room never changed a bit, except maybe the air currents flowing through. But your perspective, your view of it changed. And with each change in perspective, you saw something different, noticed something different, experienced something different, had little different thoughts going through your head about it. Oh wow, they need to dust these vents. Or is that a moth or a fly? And so you can do that with any situation, any circumstance. As human beings, we were given free will, the power of choice, the ability to choose different ways of seeing, understanding, and thinking about things. And again, if you're unhappy with what you're experiencing in your life, you have the ability to shift it. Now, most people are not practiced in that. Have you noticed that? Most people land in a perspective and that's theirs. This is my truth. This is the way it is. And they'll hold on to it. You know someone like that? And you might present them with facts and information and ideas, and it doesn't matter. No, this is the way it is. I don't care what all that reality stuff is. You know, this is my truth. And they'll hold on. And one of the sad things is when people decide to hold on to a victim story like that. My life is awful because so-and-so did it to me. Or I can't have the job I want because such and such happened over there. It was their fault. So what I do is train people in emotional education. Emotional education gives you the ability to be able to shift your perspective much more easily. It helps you understand that what you maybe have thought is true isn't necessarily true. To be open. One of the things we talk about in New Thought is to be open to new ideas. And I love that you're all here because I know you're open to new ideas, at least to a degree. Almost all of us have the point where we, nope, not going over that line. No. Okay, that's not quite safe. Or something's happened and you have an emotional charge. That's the biggest thing. Most judgments arise out of some painful experience that you've had in the past, where you had something happen, it means something about you, like, and this especially happens as little kids, before you have the ability to think rationally and understand things in a more objective way. Your parents get divorced and split up and you think it's your fault. It must be my fault that my dad left. Or you get taken advantage of and you think, oh, it's because I'm stupid. You make a negative judgment about yourself or somebody else. There's pain attached to it because it was a painful incident. And then that pain locks that negative judgment in place. So the process of emotional education is a step-by-step process of getting to the place where you can very quickly and easily shift those negative judgments. I think of it in terms of, well, there's a couple different analogies. My favorite analogy is the analogy of the pit. Any of you ever felt like you're just stuck in a hole, and no matter what you do, you can't quite climb out? I know that. And that hole is, the funny thing about the hole is it's one you dug. Dad used to have a friend who said, I subscribe to the theory of the hole. When you're in one, stop digging. But we dig our own holes. It's like, no, that was bad, that was wrong. I hate that. It shouldn't be like this. They're mean. I'm not good enough. And you keep digging and digging until all of a sudden you can't get out. And so the process of emotional education, I like to think of it as constructing a ladder. We take it step by step. And you learn the steps of, first, recognition. Recognizing, oh, I'm in a hole. Second, renouncing. I don't like this hole. I think I want to get out. The way things have been going, the way I've been doing things, really don't work for me. The third step, responsibility. And responsibility is a really bad word for some people, if you notice that. But responsibility, this is my hole. I dug this hole. Nobody's going to come rescue me. If I'm going to get out, I'm going to have to do it myself. And responsibility also means stop pointing the finger. My dad threw me in this hole. He dug it and then he threw me in it. No, it's my hole. Reconnection, the fourth step, reconnection. Reconnecting with something larger and greater than yourself. And coming to trust in the guidance and the support of that. Doesn't matter how you think of it, reconnecting. The next step is reinterpretation. Creating a new story. Thinking differently about the experiences. Or thinking differently about the whole. Well, the whole did keep me safe for all these years. And I didn't get sunburned down here. It was good for something. The next step after reinterpretation, because when you reinterpret is when you pull out the negative judgment. So the next step is release. And by this time you're already like up to here in the hole. You can see over the edge of it. Wow, there's a big world out there. This is cool. Step of release and then reclaim. Reclaiming all of that stuff that wasn't available to you in the hole. And then recreate. Once you get out of the hole, it's like the world is there. It's your oyster. You can recreate yourself. You can get clear on your values and your vision, and you can begin to do something completely different. You can be a new person. And then finally, the last step is to reconcile. To redefine the relationships of your life. In terms of being out of the hole, free of all your judgments, and clear on who you are. Because when you get clear on who you are, it's important to be able to then redefine the relationships around you. The old way of doing things with people just doesn't work. So, I've been getting the signals back there that we're about 20 minutes in, and I want to make sure to give you a shift in perspective here. So if you would, close your eyes, please. We're going to do this the quick and easy way today. Take a deep breath. And think about a situation or a circumstance in your life that you have been feeling upset about, or maybe angry about. Or maybe it's a situation that happened years ago that has left you feeling diminished, disempowered. And as you think about that situation, put yourself right back in it, in the emotions of it, in all the feelings of it. And notice how that feels. Is that the feeling you want with you? Okay, don't have to stay there. So now imagine that you're floating up out of your body. Floating up above your head, up to a bird's eye view of that situation. And looking down on it, see yourself in it. See the other people or players in that. And from this new perspective, see if you can begin to understand it in a little bit different way. Maybe from that view, you have a little more compassion for yourself, for the others. What was going on in that circumstance with you that had you play the victim or be victimized? what was going on in the life or what had happened in the past of that other person or people that had them acted in some way that was hurtful. Take a breath. And as you sit above it now and understanding it, seeing it in this new way, just notice if there's some way in which that event gave value to you. Is there a life lesson that you could learn from it? Is there something, did it prompt you onto a new path? And if you see that there's some value that you gain from that, just acknowledge the value and feel grateful for it. Wow, I am who I am today because of, not in spite of, that incident or circumstance. Take a breath. And now begin to float back down into it. And see if it occurs to you, when you land back in your body, see if it occurs to you differently. Do you feel differently about it? Maybe a little softer. Maybe you come back with a little bit more understanding and wisdom. And if you felt a shift in how you experienced that event, you just experienced forgiveness. Especially if you feel lighter about it, less encumbered or burdened. So take another breath and open your eyes. That was a very small sample and a quick and easy trick I like to use sometimes with people to get a different perspective.
Thank you for blessing us with your presence today and being a part of the Satya Center. You're invited to join Reverend Allie and Reverend Lyle each Sunday morning at 10 a.m. for your dose of connection, inspiration, and co-creation. The Satya Center is located at 795 24th Street, Ogden, Utah. For directions, a map, and our service times, please see our website, thesatyacenter.org. This program was brought to you by the kind donations from the members of the Satya Center. Thank you.